New video released by lawyers for actor Justin Baldoni shows unedited footage from the filming of It Ends With Us.
Well, it's still getting messier and messier in the It Ends With Us feud between co-stars Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni.
The entertainment world has been shaken by an explosive legal battle between two Hollywood heavyweights, Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively, and the details are wild enough to make any blockbuster script pale in comparison. Imagine a high-stakes drama with lawsuits, accusations, behind-the-scenes chaos, and two massive stars fighting for their reputations. That's exactly what's happening right now. If you thought the on-screen drama in It Ends With Us was intense, just wait until you hear about the real-life feud between its lead actors and the messy fallout that's taking over headlines. So, here's the scoop. Justin Baldoni, who not only starred in but also directed and produced It Ends With Us, has filed a jaw-dropping lawsuit for nearly $500 million against Blake Lively, her husband Ryan Reynolds, and her publicist Leslie Sloan. Yes, you heard that right, nearly $500 million. The accusations: civil extortion, defamation, and contract breaches, among others. But the real drama goes much deeper than legal jargon. This lawsuit is packed with claims that paint a picture of betrayal, power struggles, and calculated sabotage on the set of the movie.
You're not kidding when you say this is getting messier. The author of that book deleting her Instagram account, another who plays Baldoni's sister in the film, being harassed online for siding with Blake.
Let's rewind to where it all began. According to the lawsuit, everything seemed fine in the early stages of the project. Justin and Blake reportedly had a great working relationship at first, a typical Hollywood success story in the making. But then, like any good plot twist, things took a turn. Justin claims that Blake began leveraging her star power to exert control over nearly every aspect of the film. We're talking about rewriting scenes, dictating wardrobe choices, and even creating her own version of the movie. And that's not all. She allegedly pushed for Justin to be completely excluded from promotional events for the film, essentially freezing him out of his own project. Can you imagine? A director and producer being sidelined from the film they worked tirelessly to bring to life. That's some next-level drama right there. But wait, it gets even juicier. Blake's alleged behavior wasn't just limited to creative control. Justin's lawsuit claims that she orchestrated an entire smear campaign against him with the help of her husband, Ryan Reynolds, and their publicist. According to Justin, this trio went to great lengths to destroy his reputation and even tried to position him as the fall guy for any negative press surrounding the film. The lawsuit paints Blake as a master manipulator who carefully plotted her moves over months, culminating in a calculated attack on Justin and his team. And the timing of it all, Justin claims it was no accident. Blake allegedly dropped her bombshell lawsuit against him right as his company was dealing with the chaos of natural disasters in Los Angeles. Talk about hitting someone when they're down.
They believe that it's a continuation of the smear campaign that Blake initially claims happened while they were promoting the film.
One of the most shocking claims in Justin's lawsuit is that Blake refused to read the book the movie was based on. Yes, you heard that correctly. She allegedly didn't bother to read the source material for her leading role. Instead, she reportedly Googled details about her character, like the color of her hair, and then made sweeping creative decisions that clashed with the vision of the film. Can you imagine the kind of frustration that must have caused on set? For Justin, who had personally secured the rights to adapt the book and invested so much into the project, this must have felt like a slap in the face. And then there's the now infamous nose job comment. Justin alleges that Blake made a hurtful remark about his appearance, suggesting he should get work done on his nose. This wasn't just a throwaway comment either. Justin claims it struck a nerve because he had previously opened up about feeling insecure about his nose. To make matters worse, there's apparently video evidence of this interaction, which Justin included in his lawsuit. Imagine dealing with personal insecurities and then having a co-star who's also wielding immense power on set make a jab like that. It's no wonder tensions were running high.
I said that having read through Blake Lively's complaints, that it was evident to me that she was likely under the influence when she filed her complaint.
Of course, Ryan Reynolds is also a key player in this drama. While he wasn't officially involved in the production, Justin alleges that Ryan inserted himself into the creative process, rewriting a pivotal scene in the movie without authorization. And Blake didn't exactly keep this a secret. In fact, she proudly shared during an interview that her husband had contributed to the film. For Justin, this was just another example of the couple overstepping boundaries and undermining his role as the film's director and producer. It's like inviting someone into your home for dinner, only for them to rearrange your furniture and tell you how to cook your own meal.
There he is, creepy Baldoni. getting close to her, obviously making small chatter not in character so as not to make the scene, which didn't require dialogue, awkward.
The lawsuit also reveals some pretty wild allegations about how Blake and Ryan tried to handle the fallout from the movie's negative press. According to Justin, the couple drafted a public statement for him to release, essentially asking him to take the blame for everything. When Justin refused to play along, that's when the gloves really came off. This was apparently the turning point where Blake and Ryan decided to go all out in their campaign against him. The lawsuit describes this as a full-scale attack, with Blake allegedly influencing other cast members to shun Justin and give the impression that he was the problem on set. It's a classic case of she said, but with millions of dollars in reputations on the line.
Shutting down a woman's claims.
She is claiming that there was harassment. He's saying none of it is true, never happened, never did.
Now, let's talk about the promotional events, or rather, Justin's exclusion from them. The lawsuit claims that Blake went so far as to keep Justin and his guests confined to a makeshift holding area during the film's premiere. Can you imagine being the director and producer of a film and not even being allowed to mingle with the stars or enjoy the event? According to Justin, this was all part of a larger effort to tarnish his reputation and paint him as an outsider in his own project. And if that wasn't bad enough, Justin also alleges that Blake's influence extended to Sony, with the studio asking her to oversee their cut of the film. This was reportedly done without Justin's involvement, which is practically unheard of in Hollywood.
And one of the most significant allegations in Baldoni's lawsuit is that Lively sought to gain control over the editing process of the film. This is important.
But the drama doesn't stop there. Blake's alleged antics weren't just limited to Justin. The lawsuit claims that she compared herself to Khaleesi from Game of Thrones, referring to Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift as her dragons who would support her unconditionally. This comparison, while seemingly lighthearted, speaks volumes about how Blake allegedly saw herself as a power player capable of bending others to her will. And let's not forget the mention of Taylor Swift, who Justin claims was part of the threat he faced. According to the lawsuit, Blake's connection to Taylor and Ryan added another layer of pressure, as their influence could make life very difficult for anyone who crossed them.
Now you have two sides here, right? So Baldoni says this was all an effort to hijack the film to get her way. Lively claims she was the victim of harassment in a hostile work environment.
Justin's legal team is pushing back hard against Blake's allegations, insisting that her claims are part of a calculated effort to deflect from her own missteps. They argue that the evidence, including unedited footage and text messages, will prove that Justin acted professionally and respectfully throughout the production. But Blake's team isn't backing down either, describing the released footage as damning and accusing Justin's camp of trying to manipulate public perception. It's a classic Hollywood battle of narratives, with both sides claiming to have the receipts to back up their version of events.
Sidebar, Blake Lively's team has denied all of these allegations. They have responded to this filing, this lawsuit, saying,
As if all of this wasn't enough, the lawsuit also touches on the broader implications of this feud. Justin's team argues that this isn't just about two celebrities sniping at each other in the press. It's about power dynamics in Hollywood and the lengths people will go to protect their image. They claim that Blake and Ryan's actions were part of a larger strategy to dominate the narrative and silence anyone who stood in their way. Whether or not that's true remains to be seen, but one thing's for sure. This legal battle is far from over, and the stakes couldn't be higher for everyone involved.
That Justin won't be bullied by Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds. So his lawyer told us that their recent court filings show how scared they are.
It's almost impossible to talk about the ongoing battle between Justin Baldoni and Blake Lively without diving deeper into the chaos that's been unfolding behind the scenes. The tension, the allegations, and the sheer scale of this feud, it feels less like real life and more like a Hollywood thriller. But unlike a Hollywood thriller, but unlike a carefully scripted movie, this saga is messy, unpredictable, and filled with accusations that just keep piling up. So let's get into it, because we're far from done unpacking this drama.
And he says, look, this is just, Hollywood is based on pure fear, cultivated by both of them and their very powerful friends in entertainment.
If you thought the creative clashes and alleged smear campaigns were already bad enough, the lawsuits reveal an even darker side to this feud, a side that questions the very integrity of the people involved. Justin's lawsuit against Blake doesn't just accuse her of sabotaging him professionally. He claims she weaponized her influence to completely upend his life. And we're not just talking about his career. Justin alleges that Blake and her team's actions caused irreparable damage to his personal relationships, his mental health, and even his reputation within the industry. According to Justin, this wasn't just a creative dispute spiraling out of control. This was a calculated takedown designed to leave no room for him to recover.
But yeah, it's just getting super nasty, and it seems like he's not cowering to this attempted gag order.
Yeah, I don't really understand Blake Lively's point.
But what makes this feud even more explosive is the involvement of other major players. While the headlines mainly focus on Justin and Blake, Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift have also been pulled into the spotlight. In Justin's lawsuit, he paints a picture of Blake as a powerful Hollywood figure who mobilized her inner circle to back her up at every turn. And let's be real, when your inner circle includes multi-millionaire A-listers like Ryan and Taylor, that's a lot of firepower. One of the most jaw-dropping claims in Justin's lawsuit is that Blake compared herself to Khaleesi, the mother of dragons from Game of Thrones, and referred to Ryan and Taylor as her dragons. This wasn't just a playful nickname, according to Justin. It was a not-so-subtle way of signaling that she had reinforcements who could make life very difficult for him.
This tool of a lawsuit or whatever to get it into the public atmosphere, and now you're not going to allow me the chance to respond in the same avenue?
And speaking of Taylor Swift, her name popping up in this lawsuit has sent fans into a frenzy. Justin claims that Blake used Taylor's influence as a looming threat, suggesting that the singer's loyal fan base could be weaponized to turn public opinion against him. Now, we all know how passionate Taylor's fans are. When they rally behind her, they can move mountains. But in this context, Justin's claims suggest something far more sinister, that Blake was ready and willing to use her connections to ensure he couldn't defend himself. Imagine facing not just one Hollywood heavyweight, but an entire network of power players with the ability to shape public narratives. Whether or not there's any truth to Justin's allegations, the very idea of this kind of behind-the-scenes power play is enough to make anyone's head spin.
Now to the ongoing Hollywood drama everyone is talking about, the legal battle between Blake Lively and Justin.
But let's not forget the role Ryan Reynolds allegedly played in all of this. While Ryan wasn't officially involved in the production of It Ends With Us, Justin's lawsuit accuses him of overstepping boundaries and meddling in the creative process. One particular incident stands out. Ryan reportedly rewrote a pivotal scene in the movie without consulting Justin or the production team. Blake later bragged about this in an interview, framing it as a sweet example of her husband's support. But for Justin, this was anything but sweet. He saw it as yet another example of Blake and Ryan undermining his authority and taking control of a project that was supposed to be his vision. And as if that wasn't enough, Justin claims that Ryan was actively involved in the alleged smear campaign against him, working behind the scenes to craft a narrative that painted Justin as the villain.
But this is such a interpretation of perspective, because I watched the footage, and I'm sure we all have, and it's very easy to argue.
Now, let's talk about the infamous gag order that Blake's legal team is pushing for. In the midst of this escalating feud, Blake's lawyers have asked the court to silence Justin's lawyer, Brian Friedman, accusing him of making misleading statements to the media and potentially tainting the jury pool. According to Blake's team, Friedman's public remarks are part of a larger retaliatory campaign designed to discredit her and shift the focus away from Justin's alleged misconduct. They argue that litigation should play out in the courtroom, not in the press, and that Friedman's actions are jeopardizing the integrity of the legal process. But Justin's camp sees things very differently. They argue that Blake's push for a gag order is just another attempt to control the narrative and silence their side of the story. After all, if Justin believes he has evidence that exonerates him, why shouldn't he be allowed to share it with the public?
I think this was a very dicey move, because I think this very much opens up interpretation to what Blake Lively is saying was uncomfortable, and the key word here, unwelcomed.
This brings us to the controversial release of unedited footage from the set of It Ends With Us. Justin's team has been adamant that this footage proves his innocence, showing that his interactions with Blake were entirely professional and in line with the demands of the scene. But Blake's team has a very different interpretation. In their view, the footage is damning, corroborating her allegations and showing clear signs of her discomfort during the shoot. They describe her body language as evidence of someone trying to deflect unwanted advances while maintaining a semblance of professionalism. It's a classic case of perception versus reality. Both sides are looking at the same footage, yet they're drawing completely opposite conclusions. And because this footage was released to the public rather than being presented in court, it's now open to endless scrutiny and debate.
She also provided a cease and desist letter, asking them to cease, quote, all unlawful conduct, namely what they alleged is the, quote, harassing and retaliatory media and online campaign against.
What's even more interesting is the broader implications of this lawsuit. Justin's legal team argues that this case isn't just about their client. It's about exposing a culture of manipulation and power dynamics in Hollywood. They claim that Blake's actions are part of a larger pattern of behavior where influential figures use their status to silence, dissent, and control outcomes. Whether or not you believe Justin's version of events, it's hard to ignore the parallels to other high-profile feuds in the entertainment industry. From the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard trial to the ongoing debates about accountability in Hollywood, this case feels like yet another chapter in the larger conversation about power and ethics in showbiz.
He's saying, look, if you look at this scene that was captured on tape, you'll see there's nothing nefarious going on. She says this actually proves her point. There's an argument that she is hiding her discomfort with what he's saying and doing, and she's just trying to finish the scene like any kind of professional. Which way you take it, which way you perceive it, again, that'll be up to a jury or the fact finder.
But Blake's team is pushing back just as hard, framing this lawsuit as a textbook example of retaliation against a woman who dared to speak up. They describe Justin's claims as an attempt to distract from his own alleged misconduct and shift the blame onto her. In their view, this is a classic case of denying wrongdoing, attacking the accuser, and reversing the narrative. They've even pointed out that Justin's studio, Wayfarer, has been using its resources to launch what they call a dangerous manipulation of the media. It's a battle of narratives, and both sides are doubling down on their versions of the truth.
Explained that when Lively had filed her complaint with the California Civil Rights Department, she provided a copy of that to the defendants, meaning defendants like Justin Baldoni.
Then there's the financial aspect of this feud. Justin's lawsuit is seeking $400 million in damages, a staggering amount that raises questions about how these numbers are calculated. Legal experts have weighed in, suggesting that this figure includes potential losses from the movie's box office performance, future earnings from sequels, and damage to Justin's reputation. But others argue that such a high number is more about shock value than anything else. It's a way to grab headlines and put pressure on the opposing side. Regardless of the reasoning, the financial stakes in this case are astronomical, and they're only adding to the tension between these two former co-stars.
They say Friedman may even be violating the New York rules of professional conduct for lawyers by doing all this. Quote, his conduct threatens to and will materially prejudice both the Lively case and the Wayfarer case by tainting the jury pool because his statements are deliberately aimed at undermining the character, credibility, and reputation of numerous relevant parties.
As for the public, opinions are deeply divided. Fans of Blake Lively have rallied behind her, praising her bravery for speaking out and calling for accountability in the industry. Meanwhile, supporters of Justin Baldoni argue that he's being unfairly targeted in a smear campaign and that the evidence will ultimately vindicate him. Social media has become a battleground, with both sides dissecting every new development and debating who's in the right. And let's not forget the impact this feud is having on the legacy of It Ends With Us. What was supposed to be a groundbreaking adaptation of a beloved book has now been overshadowed by controversy, leaving fans of the story wondering if the movie will ever be seen in the same light again.
And that also, they say, includes us responding in the public to the montage dancing video that we put out. Why? Because, quote, the Lively Party's counsel publicly described the contents of video footage relating to Miss Lively's allegations as damning. Their statement continued, any woman who's been inappropriately touched in the workplace will recognize Miss Lively's discomfort.
At the end of the day, this feud is about much more than just a movie. It's about power, influence, and the lengths people will go to protect their reputations. It's about the dynamics of celebrity culture and the way narratives are shaped in the public eye. And most importantly, it's about the truth, whatever that may be. As the lawsuits move forward, one thing is clear. This story is far from over, and the fallout is going to be felt for a long time to come. So what do you think? Is this a case of a director being unfairly targeted, or is there more to Blake's allegations than meets the eye? Let us know in the comments, and stay tuned for more updates on this unfolding drama. Because if there's one thing we've learned, it's that in Hollywood, the truth is often stranger than fiction.